What is up, Royal Ramble fans? This is, just a half of me. Let me get over here so you guys can see my Stephen P. News shirt. Brian is in Florida. We got some guys in the studio waiting to get down. We got a lot of stuff going on tonight, Brian. We're going to be talking about Lars Sullivan. I know that's one of your favorite things to talk about.
It is one of my favorite things.
One of your favorite things. We got a lot of woes in the WWE where we're going to discuss. People wanting to change their name. People mad at Jim Cornette. So much going on, and that's not even touching on our weekly topic. Brian, go ahead and tell these guys a little bit about that.
Well, our weekly topic today, we're going to be talking about AEW. Is AEW in bed with WWE? Well, Vince Russo thinks so, and quite a few other people also can join him thinking so. Today, we break down the conspiracy to find out, is AEW in bed with WWE? I think that the Ramblers can figure this mystery out.
I think we're going to get down to it, but let's go ahead and start the show. How about it?
Let's do it.
Yep, they're just phoning it in.
You're not watching everything, it means nothing.
The large print giveth and the small print taketh away.
You, sir, are an idiot.
You guys are talking about Maven from Tough Enough, right? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Royal Ramble. As always, I'm your host, John Covey Cole. Got Steve New in the studio. Got Brian Resner, Rich Quick, and Derek motherfucking Jones. Derek, where you been, old bud?
Look, you and I talked about that a little bit. Still not extremely happy the way things went down. Still a little skeptical. Been talking to some people about it, looking into it. So I feel like it's best if I keep my distance a little bit, John, you know?
Well, you're in good hands here at Allstate. Is that copyright infringement? Is that what was?
Yeah, that's definitely gimmick infringement.
Yeah, that's what it is, gimmick infringement. Derek, you got an attorney.
Don't get us sued, John.
P. New here in the studio. He can give you any kind of legal advice that you need, I promise.
I don't think that Derek thinks that I had anything to do.
My fear is that he sits beside of you every week, and I don't know how well you grease the pockets.
Okay, so let me get this straight. I got my attorney here, right? I had me a bodyguard in the studio a couple weeks ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you're just making stuff up here, buddy. I done told you that. I had nothing to do with taking you out, but to each their own, I guess. You think?
I'm shocked he thinks I can be bribed.
Yeah, you can't buy the $1 Million Man.
Hey,
that wasn't what I meant, Resner, and you know it.
Rich Quick, you all right, buddy? I'm catching like a Tommy Lee Jones from you there. I got like half a face, man.
What?
Yeah, you're going to have to back off. There he is. There he is right there.
Here I am? Okay, good. I'll stay right here.
There you go.
You doing all right?
No, that's fine. If it's good for you, it's good for me. Whatever.
Okay. I just want to make sure the lovely Ramblers out there can see that pretty mug of yours. Brian, how you doing down in Florida, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm trying to figure out how to get my phone to stand up since we went vertical today, and it has totally changed everything. So if I completely fall out of screen, you'll know why. It's John Covey Cole's fault.
Hey, that's what I do is I shake things up. And regardless of Derek Jones' woes, I'm still the champ, Derek. I just wanted to go ahead and throw that out so you know.
Yeah, rub it in his face.
I see that.
Got a lot of wrestling to get to today. Steve, did you watch a lot of wrestling this week?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I watched Raw, but I've watched a lot. We'll try to watch NXT tonight, and yeah.
So NXT is next, is what you're saying? See what I did there?
I saw that. Yes.
Yeah.
You're clever, John Covey.
Derek, we ain't seen you in a while, man. You've been keeping up with everything going on out there in the independent world and overseas and what have you?
Of course. I mean, that's kind of what I do.
It is what you do. We've missed
what we rely on you for.
We've missed your analysis for sure.
Yep.
And I've been rubbing it in that I'm, the champion too.
Did you just say your analysis?
I did, didn't I?
You did.
I did. Nice catch. That's not as good as the spot, but it's definitely a thing. Rich Quick, what about you? Have you been indulging this week, my friend?
I mean, I watched the usual, although I did watch 205 Live this week.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure we'll get into that later. There was some interesting things happened on there. Brian, I know you watched at least WWE. I'm not sure about the other stuff out there in the world, but I know you watched some WWE.
I watch as much as I can watch every single week, which sometimes is a lot and sometimes is not a lot. But I definitely watch WWE, and I definitely have a good pro and a good con.
Well, since you brought it up, let's go ahead and get to it. Do you want to? I'll tell you
Let's do it.
Since I am a generous champion, I'm going to let my old buddy Derek Jones that don't trust me start the Havens this evening. I'll let you start pros or cons.
Apparently doesn't trust me either. I'm heartbroken, Derek. I really am.
It's not that I don't trust you, Steve. It's I'm unsure. Now, John, I don't trust. But, so if we're going to start pros.
Okay, that's where we're starting. Okay.
So we'll start pros since I get to go first. How about the interactions on Twitter between WWE superstars and non-WWE superstars right now? For a while, that was not a thing that was allowed. You were not allowed to even acknowledge that other companies existed. And now you've got a lot of back and forth between like Will Ospreay and Seth Rollins.
Derek, we're not supposed to start the conspiracy thing yet. The AEW WWE conspiracy train is later on in the show.
And I think that's a bunch of crap.
Save it, boys. Let's not have the talk right now.
The bell's not even rung yet, boys.
Oh, you're talking about Ospreay. You're talking about Ospreay and Rollins.
Yeah, Ospreay's in New Japan. He's not in AEW.
That's true. But yeah,
so
you're right.
To do with AEW.
For those of you at home that don't know what he's talking about, there's been crazy banter. It started out with Seth Rollins saying that he works for the best company in the world or whatever. And then, actually, I have the notes here if you'd like me to read them, Derek.
It was WWE is where the greatest in the world, or where the greatest wrestling in the world is.
Your name's not Derek. Derek, I was talking to you.
So let's hold off on that until we get to the cons.
Okay.
But the fact that it's being allowed now is a pro for me because I want my wrestling companies to compete regardless of what else is going on in the world. I don't want to just have it say I'm the only thing in the world, even though all this other stuff is going on. You have to watch me because I'm your only option. No, you're not the only option. You have to acknowledge that you have competition. That's what makes you better as a company is acknowledging you have some competition. If you're number 2,
you got to acknowledge it. Rich, am I wrong?
I'm sorry, I wasn't even paying attention to you. I was looking at myself. What?
Brian, am I wrong?
Yeah, if you're number 1, you don't really pay attention to number 2. If you're number 2, then you definitely want to acknowledge number 1 because that's the only way to beat them. But I don't know. It seems like that rules out the window right now because number 1 is obviously the WWE because of the infrastructure, but AEW has a lot of noise. So WWE is mentioning their name, and I don't know if that's a mistake or something they should be doing, or if they're all in bed together. And we'll get back to that later.
Did you say steak? Oh, anyway. How do you feel about that, Steve? In a nutshell, don't go off on a rant now. I know how you get sometimes.
No, I'm not going to ramble. I do like the social media interaction. I disagree with something Brian said. If you're number 1, it's not that you don't pay attention to 2, 3, or 4. You just pretend that 2, 3, and 4 don't exist. But you're paying attention to what they're doing.
Yeah,
you don't mention them.
Rich Quick, do you agree with Derek on the pro this week, or do you have another pro that you'd like to throw out there?
I do have a pro, and my pro is Drake Maverick losing the 24/7 championship at his own wedding.
That was awesome.
Hopefully the pro is going to his wife and not him, because for a woman to give him that's amazing. She is the coolest chick in the world, other than my wife, of course.
Well, she's a wrestler.
It don't matter, Brian.
Yeah, she gets it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because Resner, if you had a championship, if you had that championship, would that not have 100% been done at your wedding?
I mean, yes, and you're talking to someone who actually came out like Hulk Hogan at his wedding with a championship belt. I had the world championship belt on my waist, and I'm not the champion. I'm just some mark who bought a belt, and I had the championship on at my wedding.
Did you have the boas too? The
what?
What do they call those?
He didn't have any boas.
Yeah.
I did not have the boas, unfortunately. I wish I would have had the boas. But I did have the world title, and I did have Voodoo Child playing.
That's attaboy.
The fact that it was Voodoo Child and not just the generic NWO music is what set it off.
No,
That's
it was
fantastic.
Voodoo Child. It was on point. Voodoo Child.
Correct me if I'm
there.
wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, Resner. You was giving out your NWO shirts to your crew. I was going to come, but I got kicked out of the NWO, so I couldn't come. Is that what happened when you giving out NWO shirts to your groomsmen?
That's exactly
and
what happened.
Yeah.
We kicked you right out of the NWO.
That was not too sweet at all.
Point being to all that, loved hearing about the wedding, was that Drake Maverick has really stepped up and became someone who could have easily been forgotten, and he is just proving he's earned that paycheck.
Well, they really like him for some reason. There's something about him that stands out to WWE because, honestly, they had no reason to hire him. And they just built, I mean, if you've noticed, Drake Maverick's entire career has been situations that were built for him that no one really even needed. You know, like he didn't need, I mean, Paul Ellering was a way better manager for
LOD?
Yeah. Or no.
Authors of Pain.
Or the
Authors of Raiders. Or see, that's how bad WWE's got. You got so many tag teams that come in that are similar, and they just walk right past them, and that's the end of them.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how bad it is because I just forgot about Authors of Pain's name, and I absolutely love that tag team in NXT. And now I can't even remember their name. That's how sad it's gotten.
You know, if the AOP had just stuck with Paul Ellering, maybe they'd have gotten somewhere. Drake should have probably stayed in 205, you know. So.
Yeah, I disagree. I really enjoy Drake's what's the word I'm looking for? His humor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know much about his wrestling, but I'm sure Derek knows a little bit about Rockstar Spud, don't you, Derek? Huh?
Hey?
I was talking to you.
Your mic's a little low.
Your mic.
It is.
It is really?
Yeah.
Well,
you said something earlier, and I struggled to hear you, and I thought maybe it was just me, but nobody else was paying attention to you either. So
we're having a couple of technical
Just his natural
difficulties because
personality.
our display of the comments is lagging right now.
that's not lagging. The comments just aren't working at all.
Basically what he said, Derek Jones. How's Rockstar Spud as a wrestler?
Rockstar Spud as a wrestler is actually, I mean, he can work. He's not terrible. He doesn't have anything super flashy that sets him off as you know, a huge individual, but the guy's a great hand. He can work in ring.
His character is what really makes him because, I mean, that's what got him over in Impact, and that's what's getting him over now is just the fact that he can really act. I mean, when it comes down to it, he's a good actor, and he talks. I mean, he talks a good promo, and he doesn't care to look like crap. I mean,
that's what got him into Impact to begin with. Really, was his promo skills because he went through that UK brand that NXT did that was tough enough, you know, adjacent type deal. And he, like I said, he could work in ring no problem, but his promos set him off from his class.
Sorry to interrupt your rambling, gentlemen. Ramblers out there. Never mind. Now the freaking comments are working. What in the hell's going on?
I saw.
I guess you was right. It was lagging.
Yeah, it was lagging.
Guys at home listening, can you guys hear me okay? My buddies here on Skype said they're having a hard time. Rez, are you having a hard time hearing me also?
no, I think we're good now.
Yeah.
Rich Quick, you hear me all right?
I hear you loud and clear.
I did absolutely nothing. That's bullcrap. You guys are ribbing me.
Maybe it's
That's
just
right,
the
it's a
stuff you're saying
conspiracy
isn't
theory.
relevant enough for us to listen.
Maybe you just need to stop mumbling, John.
I ain't going to comment on that. Brian Resner, what's your pro of the week, my friend? Or did I miss it?
My pro of the week, and I'm going to probably get some hate for this, is Stomping Grounds.
Oh,
Stomping Grounds.
It was
Actually,
surprisingly good, wasn't it?
It was better than it should have been. It was. I mean, I'm not saying it was a 5-star pay-per-view or anything, but I am saying that that it really shocked me how good match quality was on Stomping Grounds. I guess like the whole group was like, hey, if this show's gonna suck storyline wise, we're at least gonna make it be awesome in the ring, and they did. I mean, there was a couple matches that weren't great, but for the most part, Stomping Grounds was pretty good, and I really enjoyed Heavy Machinery at Stomping Grounds. And I'm not even. I mean, I've been pretty critical of that tag team. But I really enjoyed them at Stomping Grounds. They really showed me why I should like them. So
you better give Otis his due. Otis is great.
Yeah, well, I mean, they both were great at Stomping Grounds. That was a great.
I'm not
match.
much on Tucker. Tucker kind of reminds me of an Adam Bomb. I wasn't really a fan. I mean, it looks good, but the charisma just wasn't there. You gonna
tell me right now Brian Clark's not good enough for John Covey Cole?
Just saying. I got to go back to Rockstar Spud real quick, though, before you hammer me in the ground too hard. Virgil Broyles here on Facebook says he got kicked out of a Beckley show because he slapped Drake Maverick Rockstar Spud on the ass when he was being carried out across some other's wrestler's shoulder.
Well, that was the subject of my I object last week, John, if you remember.
It was.
Fans, you ain't part of the show. Keep your hands to yourself. But
what about
Virgil, I mean, if that feeling came over you and you felt the need to express it, then, brother,
hey, it's a good thing you didn't start some finger banging. You know what I'm saying? Brian, are you okay over there, buddy? Did you fall over?
No, I'm good.
There he is. But you're right. Stomping Grounds was surprisingly good. I've seen a lot of internet wrestling fans. If I'm stepping on anybody with their pro, please let me know. But I've seen a lot of fans out there crapping on Lacey Evans being the special referee. But I absolutely love that because
I did too.
They give you some realism to the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, his old girlfriend come here and cost him that match to get at his girlfriend. This is good stuff right here. I'll tell you what.
And it tied right. There was some realism to it. Seth couldn't hit her with the chair. You know.
Do you like my wrestling fan in a nutshell there, Rich?
that one tickled me. Yeah.
But I can't argue with you, Brian. Like you said, there was a few matches there that wasn't the best of the best, but they were okay. I mean, it was surprisingly good.
Samoa Joe and Ricochet made it worthwhile.
I knew that was going to be hot going in.
Though, that was a great match. I agree with you, Brian. You know, the show was being done the week before because the ticket sales in Tacoma, Washington. Well, I don't know why the ticket sales were so low or why they had part of the arena blocked off or what have you. But the show, match-wise, storyline-wise, it was a really good show for a non-Big Four pay-per-view.
Real quick here on Facebook, Ernest Davis says Double or Nothing was better than Stomping Grounds, and that was their first pay-per-view.
It was.
THEIR, Ernest. It's not a competition. We're not competing here. We was just talking to saying Stomping Grounds was okay, man. You got to compare it to MLW. You don't have to compare it to All Elite Wrestling.
Stomping Grounds. I break WWE pay-per-views into two categories. The
Big
Four.
And then Roadblock.
And then...
Oh.
No, not Roadblock, but the Big Four and the other 8 or so that they do. And I don't know whether the Saudi Arabia shows count or not, but
that's a WrestleMania equivalent show, right, Brian?
That's right.
But anyway, it's the Big Four and the other ones. For the non-Big Four pay-per-views, I thought it was fine.
Derek Jones, I know you're pretty critical on the wrestling aspect. How did you enjoy Stomping Grounds?
Yes and no. Again, in-ring work, it's hard to beat. Some of the matches, the matchups were right where they needed to be. But, again, you talk about story week after week after week. There was no build, no story. I mean, the biggest story going into Stomping Ground was Ricochet.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with that. The story was crap for Stomping Grounds.
I am so sorry. I cannot help it. My mind is constantly in the gutter. Every time someone brings up Ricochet now, I can't help but think of the video that came out of him last week.
And that's what I'm talking about. He was the biggest story going into Stomping.
Well,
that's what it was.
You know what?
Did you watch the video? Did you
watch
the video?
I still haven't seen it. I sent it to you. I was hoping you was going to tell me how it was.
I was going to say, John, if you didn't want to think about the video all week, you should have not watched it.
I didn't watch it. Maybe.
And it wasn't a video. It was just a story. I was very disappointed in you.
Yeah, my wife looked all over the internet for the video and couldn't find it.
Well, allegedly, there's a video out there.
I like how you clarified by saying my wife was looking up the gay porn, not me.
She did.
Like, come on.
All right, let's not go down this rabbit hole.
She's a Ricochet fan.
Or a ricochet hole. Let's not go there. Steve New, what was your pro of the week, my friend?
MLW.
I didn't watch it. I can't comment. But
MLW. I mean, from top to bottom, I think they're doing better stuff at MLW. It's a shame that they're only on BN Sports. They're trying to use YouTube as their bigger sort of platform. But I'm telling you, those guys have something special right there. And they're going to be in Chicago on July 6th. They're in New York July 25th.
What was your main event at this last MLW show?
Oh, so I'm trying to think what it was.
Tom Lawler and the Von Erichs versus Contra.
That's what it
Von
was.
Erich.
That's a story that's been building.
Yeah.
It was nasty or dirty or whatever he calls himself, Tom Lawler and the Von Erich boys, who have shot to the top of MLW. I mean, those kids are just naturally fantastic.
Wasn't that their first match? I thought that was their first match.
No, that wasn't their first match. But the Contra unit is just nasty. You know, they've and I'm telling you, Jacob Fatu, for as much as I love MJF and I think he's the future of professional wrestling, I love him as a heel. Don't know what's going to happen as between MLW and AEW. MJF is fantastic, greatest on the mic, best heel I've seen in ages. But Jacob Fatu of the Contra unit, he is just really, really something special in the ring.
He's going to be huge.
He is going to be a huge star. And to see these guys and even the guys in NXT and things like that catching on, I think MLW is special. I think they've got the best stories going.
And he's the son of the Tonga kid, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's Tonga's son. And Selena De La Renta, there's not a hotter woman. Well, Scarlett Bordeaux, maybe. She became a free agent.
Sure.
I'm telling you, Selena De La Renta, they've got her almost in this, like...
Is that the one that they're highlighting? Because I watched a show there a couple weeks ago, and she was on there like 4 or 5 times.
Yes, Selena De La Renta is almost in like a general manager.
See, I didn't really get into that, but that was just... I just watched the one show, though, so I can't really...
Yeah. So anyway, that's my highlight of the week's MLW.
I'm sure, Derek, you're watching...
Scarlett Bordeaux is a free agent. Next week, she'll be working for Stephen P. New, attorney at law. She'll be signed to a contract.
She may
front door.
She may become
$250,000 a year just to stand there and wave.
Oh, no doubt.
She may become Ricochet's camera lady. You know what I'm saying? Let's move on to my pro. I had a couple this week because I didn't know if you guys were going to steal it, but my pro, I'm going to go ahead and be that guy. Since nobody else wants to be that guy. But my pro was the tease of almost having a little bit of hot lesbian action on SmackDown this week. When Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville had that moment. You know what I'm talking about? Did you guys catch that? There was a moment there. If you haven't seen it, or if you watched it and didn't catch it, watch it again. There was a moment there. It was almost a thing, guys. I'm telling you. It was so close. So close.
They're not going to do that, I don't think, John.
I must have missed that.
You totally did. It was at the end of the match. Derek, did you see it?
Yeah.
It was a thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it or ruin it because you should definitely go back and watch it. But yeah.
But to be honest, though, that would be a great idea for the WWE because not necessarily calling it hot lesbian action, of course, but like saying, "Oh, WWE's got a gay angle,"
Chuck
and then
and Larry,
everybody's going to be like,
2.0.
"Oh, WWE's so
not Chuck and Larry,
so good."
Chuck and who? Chuck and who was it? It wasn't Chuck and Larry, was it?
Chuck and Billy.
Chuck and Billy. Chuck and Larry was that dang old movie.
Right.
I know, but now this could be a whole different thing because WWE used to villainize the gay person,
beginning with Adrian Adonis.
Yeah, all the gay people were always villains.
What about was Pat Patterson a villain?
Yeah, he wasn't now.
He was the first gay person ever.
Yeah, but he wasn't. No, he wasn't. But he wasn't the. He wasn't gay when he was a wrestler.
Well, he wasn't out.
Yeah, he wasn't out.
Yeah, he
wasn't officially gay.
His in-ring persona was not gay. So, because like Adrian Street wasn't.
Right.
You know, so
Gorgeous George.
Actually, I'm just ribbing you guys. I just wanted to see your reaction and see if anybody was going to call me a sexist pig or anything.
now we just let history talk for us.
Yeah.
Sometimes it writes itself,
children will
don't it?
know about you, John Covey Cole.
When you hit rock bottom, John, we don't tell you to stop digging. We just let you go on.
Actually, guys, my pro for the week is Samoa Joe getting his shot finally. I'm hoping, and I ain't going to say I'm praying because I'm not, but I'm hoping that they give him the strap because I'm just, Lyndon, if you're watching out there, I'm sorry. I'm just not buying Kofi as a champ.
Did you hear that? Ladies and gentlemen, what John Covey Cole has said to you is he goes to church every Sunday morning and prays for the downfall of Kofi Kingston.
No, I said I wasn't going to pray.
And he likes lesbians. Write all that down.
And if somebody has that video of Ricochet, please send it to him. He's dying to see it.
Maybe I've already seen it, Rich. How about them apples, okay?
He's seen it.
I ain't
He's
seen
seen
it.
it.
I haven't
He's
looked
seen
for it.
it.
But now I'm going
watched
to take
it.
on a personal mission to find it so I can send it
He
to you.
watched
so
it
you can
several
watch it.
hundred times.
The FBI has a file on you.
Don't
because of
have
this.
your wife doing that on my office computers, John. I don't need that kind of scrutiny.
Yeah, Steve New got took in the other day. You should have seen what was on his computers. All right, guys, let's move on to the cons. Anybody want to start with the cons? I actually had a difficult time finding a con this week, personally.
I can start, or Steve can start.
We'll let
He's
Steve
ready.
start. His hand was up first. Go ahead, Steve.
The Braun Strowman, Bobby Lashley
Tug of war.
tug of war.
I tell you what, that Lashley's a strong feller. Whenever he was outside practicing and he broke that rope in two, man, he's good. He's a strong old feller.
I love both those guys so much, and I just think, if you want to have two giants, two behemoths, go at one another, then make it over a title or make it over something. But goodness gracious, the over-the-top arm wrestling competition. Now you got a tug of war. Are they so out of ideas at WWE that this is all they've got for two guys that look and smell like money? They're just awesome. My goodness gracious.
It was silly.
I can play both sides of that coin because on one side I'm like, this is nostalgic because it takes you back to like the Dino Bravo Ultimate Warrior push-up contests and the arm wrestling tournament in WCW back in the day. There was just all types of nostalgic little contests like that between strongmen, and that part I can see and like because it is nostalgia. But then on the other hand, you're looking at exactly what you're talking about. You got Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley could be your top guy. If you played it right, he could be your top guy.
Brian, if you were talking about two mid-carders or two curtain jerkers, I could agree with that nostalgia. If you were trying to build lower-tier guys up to something, okay, I'm all right with it. This is Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley. They don't need that type of stuff. And it's more about, to Lou's point, and he's talked at length on this show about the misuse of the talent. I just think it's more of what Lou's talked to us about for so long. There's just blatant misuse of talent here.
Who's Lou?
Yeah.
I don't know who Lou is.
Hello,
I don't know.
Mary Lou.
Louie.
The comments ain't working on Facebook again. I'm going to have to get a hold of somebody and see what's going on.
We're having all kinds
I'm
of
tore all
technical
to hell.
issues.
I'm going to go ahead and take the next call, and then we'll pass it around to Derek and keep going that way. Did any of you, by any chance, listen to Total Engagement with Matt Coon this week?
Did not.
No.
Okay.
I will never hear his voice again.
You may. Essentially, he said that he feels that the R-Truth, this is my con now, it said essentially that he feels the R-Truth dumb gimmick is racially motivated. And that just, exactly, that's what I said, Rich. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's ridiculous. He said it stemmed with something Ron Funches tweeted out a while back. I couldn't find it. But just because we're portraying R-Truth to be such an idiot to not know what day it is, especially with the 48-7-7-11 title, he called it. Why you got to bring race into it? It's hilarious. It's funny. I don't know why. I don't know how he would get the it's a race thing there. I don't understand.
I can see where someone might think that, because of minstrel shows and whatnot from the past. In this case, this sounds like something probably R-Truth came up with on his own, and he's a naturally funny guy. So I think.
Well, if you remember a couple years ago, he would play to the fact that, hey, I'm supposed to be stupid, but I know what's going on. You know what I mean? He actually showed us on camera, like, I'm okay, guys, it's cool. I got it. This is a character. I can't even understand. I see what you're saying there, Rich, but for me personally, I'm just like, that makes no sense because that never crossed my mind. But then again, I'm not an African American gentleman. You know what I'm saying? Not a black man.
Well, you know what? I don't even think that an African American gentleman would think that was. I mean, I don't even understand how you tie race in there at all. But I will say this: if R-Truth wasn't acting like that and didn't have that character, this wouldn't be getting over. That character is what's getting this over.
Right.
If it wasn't for that character, the 24/7 division would be under the bus right now.
Right. Truth has made that 24/7 title relevant. He's been how many times by the time that it's all said
nine times right now.
9-time 24/7.
I hate to beat our hometown boy, Heath Slater. That was nice to see him get the strap. He didn't keep it long.
Right. So I mean, they've done dumb. Just look at what they did with Luke Gallows a few years ago.
Festus.
He stood there until the bell rung, and then went all crazy.
I found that way more entertaining than what he's doing right now in the WWE.
Oh sure,
I would love to see a return of Festus. Biscuits and gravy.
So, I mean, it's not it's not as if this character hasn't been done before. Along the lines of Eugene or Festus or probably some others that I'm blanking on right now. So,
wow. Now wait a minute. R-Truth's just stupid. He's not retarded, Steve.
Mentally challenged, Brian. You can't use that word these days, pal.
Anyway,
I'm still living in the 90s, baby.
It's Truth's character. And you would have to think that if Ron Killings has a problem with this,
he'd say something.
He would.
He's been around long enough.
Yeah, right. And he would say something if he felt like that it was racially motivated.
I guarantee if you talk to R-Truth right now and say, "Hey, do you like the character you're portraying?" He's like, "I'm on TV. I do not care. They're using me. I'll do whatever they want me to do."
Right, he's selling merch. He's on TV. He's in a long-term.
I don't like the new shirt though. We'll say that. I don't like it.
Right.
Well, then don't buy one.
I won't. You ain't got no damn money anyway. I do got me a Steve News shirt though. I don't know if you guys can see it out there.
No, it's hidden behind your belt that you stole.
I didn't steal it. I won that thing. I think.
And that's right, ladies and gentlemen. As you're looking at this brand new Steve News shirt, just know all you have to do is contact Brian Resner to have awesome shirts like that. That's all you got to do. Hit me up and say, "Hey, I need shirts."
Actually, guys, you guys don't want that in your life. You don't want to deal with that. Just contact me. I'll take care of you.
I try to help my friends. What can I say?
Hey. Let's move on, guys. Derek Jones, what was your con of the week?
All right, so we talked about the pro earlier. My pro was the interaction between Seth Rollins and Ricochet on Twitter. So my con is the interaction between Seth Rollins and Ricochet on Twitter. Let me explain. So Seth Rollins decides he's gonna hype the WWE and says he's the greatest alive, or that nobody alive is better than him. So here comes Will Ospreay. Ospreay says, "I'm alive." Seth Rollins continues to call him a little guy. Does Seth Rollins not realize that he's the same size as Will Ospreay?
Ospreay's actually a little bigger.
Okay, then the WWE credits Seth Rollins as being bigger than he actually is. So it just pulls the blindfold away from everything. And then not only does he make himself look stupid in that matter, because it's really easy to figure out that they're very similar in size, but then he's talking about Ospreay being a little guy and says, "We have one of you. His name's Ricochet. So let me bury my buddy Ricochet," only to call him a little guy, because that's just kind of what I'm going to do here today. He's trying to be the Becky Lynch of the men's division, and Becky's hot fire on Twitter. I can't say anything bad, but
take it even further.
I didn't interpret it the way that you did, Derek. I took him saying little guy to Ospreay, not based on his physical stature, but his stature in the wrestling world, not how big he is. And then when the topic of the maneuvers he does and things like that came around, he said, "Look, we've already got one of you. His name's Ricochet, and he can do that." That was my interpretation of that Twitter exchange, and I'm not saying that mine's right and yours is wrong, or either way.
And that's fine, but I would imagine that there's probably a lot of people that have went both ways with this, and now there's people that could be having a negative view of Seth Rollins. I love Seth Rollins. It's hard for me to view him in a negative way, but all of that, yeah.
Did you guys see what Austin Aries said to add to the fuel to the fire? He said, "Until you flip as many shitty." Well, actually, I'm gonna go ahead and read you Seth Rollins' text first, or his. Let me see. Let me find it. That's right. Place.
Good Lord!
Would you just come on with it now?
Okay. He tweeted, doubling down, best pro wrestling on the planet. See that cruiserweight triple threat? And that's just one night, one match amongst the many. Find anyone else alive who does what I do as well as I do it, as often as I do it. You can't. And that's what started Ospreay. He said, I'm alive. But anyway, Austin Aries says, until you flip as many corporate fast food burgers as I do in a year, don't you dare think you're as good as a chef as I am. When did high-volume line cooks who don't even write their own recipes start acting like highly skilled culinary artists, which I thought was pretty clever.
Yeah.
But the
Austin
thing was,
Aries is a clever guy.
But what you're saying about Seth Rollins, I'm not knocking Seth Rollins at all for going out there for his company saying, hey, we are the best in the world. There's a lot of people out there that would beg to differ. But whenever you double down on it and start taking jabs,
Right.
That's the whole other story.
I'm not knocking Seth Rollins for hyping WWE. Hype him. That's your brand.
Right.
Wear it proud. But don't take somebody out of an equation when he says, hey, I can do what you do, and then try to, degrade him and only stick your foot in your mouth. And you're talking about the stature of Will Ospreay. This is the guy that's getting ready to be your next IWGP Heavyweight Champion. I mean, if you want to, degrade that belt, then you're going to look at, Antonio Inoki. You're going to look at Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, AJ Styles, guys that have held that belt. Yeah.
Big Van Vaden.
So you're going to say Ospreay's not as good as you are because he's holding that belt, not the WWE belt. Well, how about all these other guys that held it that are way better than Seth Rollins?
Mm-hmm. Did you guys see how the Twitter battle essentially stopped? Seth Rollins, I got the exact quote right here, but Seth Rollins said something about, he said, Ospreay said that he's actually had more matches than Seth Rollins had in 2019 or 2018.
Yeah.
Then Rollins said, okay, buddy, little guy, let's compare bank accounts. And that pretty much stopped it right there.
But again, to Austin Aries' point, and I don't know that McDonald's has a head chef, a head burger flipper, but to Austin Aries...
His name's SpongeBob.
But to Austin Aries' point, I mean, if you want to do predetermined matches, if you want to do Big Macs, X number of nights a week for the biggest company in the world, it's owned by a billionaire, then your bank account's probably going to be bigger than Will Ospreay's because, to Derek's point, the IWGP title is prestigious, but they probably don't pay what the WWE pays its Universal Champion.
Probably can't. I mean, WWE is the on top of the food chain for a reason. You know what I mean? But anyway, we can stay there all day. Rich Resner, would you guys like to comment on that?
Oh, no, I thought you were just moving on.
Yeah, let's move on if you want to. Go ahead.
Well, you said we can't talk about this all day. Rich Resner, I was like, oh.
I wanted to share the platform with you guys. This is the first time. I think this is the first time that all five of us have been on the show at the same time. So I'm trying to give everybody just time to get their shit in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is working out wonderfully so far. Yes. No, I have nothing to add to that. I kind of side with Derek on this one. Actually, I'll just say that far. I think that was that he's trying to be Becky Lynch, and Becky, can only be Becky. Seth Rollins is not that smart, so he's just going to lose. So he just needs to either hand Becky the phone, let her respond, and then, I think that's probably the best option.
Fair enough. Resner, do you agree?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I'm on that side of the coin.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on then. Rich Quick, go ahead and share with these ramblers at home what your con of the week was.
My con of the week was Vince McMahon's brilliant idea to stop doing commercials or stop doing wrestling during commercials. So every match has become like a 2 out of 3 falls match. And I just don't understand why. Like, no commercial, just stop wrestling.
I thought that was super. I thought they did a very creative job of making that happen on Raw. Now, SmackDown, it was like, we're going to do 2 out of 3 falls matches. They gave it away. But on Raw, the way they did the cut-ups was very creative. I'll say that.
Yeah, but it's just like them just stopping the action. It's like you're doing a performance, and it's like, all right, I'm cut. Just hang out for a minute. All right. Let's talk to the audience.
I seen something where
yeah,
they were interviewing fans or whatever, and they asked some kid a question, and they said asked him who the best in the world was, and the kid said CM Punk or but I bet that got a big pop of all 20 people that was there.
Mm-hmm. But the only thing that I don't like about it is the fact that I know that the first segment doesn't matter. I can walk outside and smoke a cigarette. I can do something because this is a 2 out of 3 falls match. And now that I know that wrestling is being stopped during commercials, it's like, so that's the thing. So I have like a good 10 minutes before I can go outside or I can go to the bathroom or do something like that. Like, it makes the first that whole segment of TV irrelevant because I already know that it's going to go.
Well, other than the two on-air 2 out of 3 falls matches that Brian mentioned there earlier, I think more so that they're going to do it off camera. So when you come back, that the match is actually still going to be going on for the TV crowd, but during the commercial break, there's a pinfall or a submission.
No.
No,
what they said before.
Want all of the action to be on TV 100% of the time.
Yeah.
The only wrestling that'll take place during commercial break are those SmackDown matches that actually get played while a commercial's playing, so you can see both sides. I think those are a cheaper spot on the WWE schedule. So anyone who buys that spot, they get a better deal on the spot, but wrestling runs during the spot.
What kind of spot they got there on Fox there?
That was a commercial spot.
Oh.
A 30-second spot.
My spot.
Steve's spot. I'm anxious to see where that's going to go, Rich. Right now, I'm still indifferent about it because it really hasn't affected me either way. But I could see where it could become a problem.
I think they're going to run out of ideas for sure.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I don't get it. Why? What's the point?
Because anyway. Vince got bored. That's why.
No, it's because of Fox.
His own product.
No, it's because of Fox. From what I was told, Vince McMahon was pulled into a meeting last week where Fox basically talked to him like a child and said, the NBA, when they go to commercial, are they still playing basketball?
Well, somebody's foxing with you because they're actually supposed to be meeting next week. They haven't met yet.
Well, from what I understand, the people at Fox said there was no basketball being played during NBA breaks. There was no football being played during NFL breaks. And if he wanted to consider WWE a legitimate sport, which is what they want on their network, then he has to follow by those guidelines.
Hang on, I get what you're saying there, but nobody's going to give me a pat on the back for my Fox wordplay there. I thought it was great.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
It was. You just kind of pinned. I don't know. That was good. Good
See,
job.
I got
Joe.
my F word in, and I didn't even have to use it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that makes perfect sense now that you put it that way, Brian. I never thought about it, but that makes perfect sense. If you're going to be a legitimate sporting competition, then you save it for the fans when it comes back on TV. Oh, we got a timeout. All right, let's go ahead and do a media timeout and come back, and then we'll start the game again.
So rather than having commercials before and after the matches, you're going to tell these high-level performers, hey, it doesn't matter how hot the match is. When it comes time for a commercial, slow your match down and lose your audience.
When they're paying however much money they're paying, yeah, that's exactly what you're going to tell your performers.
But it's going to go back to the old days when you took a guy, and again, it's a little bit different scenario, a little bit different time frame, but you told guys how long, and that's all you told the guys, and you let them call it in the ring. You know, if these guys were wrestlers instead of actors, you could tell them, hey, you go out and you have an 8-minute match. It's going to end with you over the other guy, and that's your ending. It needs to go X number of minutes.
That's how I came into the business. That's how I came into the business. The booker man would say, hey, you guys got 12 minutes or whatever.
There you go.
And then you'd have your timekeeper. 5 minutes gone from a 15-minute time limit. That way you can kind of know what's going on.
There you go. That's how you do the very thing that you're talking about, Derek, without having to be in the referee's ear or anything like that. You tell the guys they've got 12 minutes, start to finish. You don't make a big deal out of the coming to the ring down the ramps, or you don't have a bunch of out-of-the-ring action or any of that kind of stuff, and you let them call their matches in the ring.
I'm going to go ahead and apologize to our ramblers out there in Facebook world. Comment section's down again. I'm not ignoring you guys.
I'm trying to keep up with it because I thought maybe if I comment, the comments will come back.
Oh, that's what happened last time, wasn't it?
Yes.
But anyway, I can't disagree. That is pretty... I'm still indifferent about it. I mean, it makes sense from what they're trying to do, but then again, it makes sense from what you guys are saying also. So I'm not sure how they're going to do it. You know, you want it to. I don't know. I really don't know what to say about it. I'm just kind of sit back and wait and see. You know what I mean?
Well, and if they're going to put that time constraint on a wrestler, hey, you got 8 minutes. Well, it's because you got, a minute and a half of commercials. Then you're going to run your 8 minutes. Then let's do another 2 minutes of commercials. Don't cut the match in half.
Right.
That's what
I agree. I think that's the way it'll go, Derek.
Yeah, you can't afford to go over because you're going to go into commercial break, and Fox is going to be pissed. So you better maintain your timeline, and the ref's going to count you down. And I like the bell ring saying, hey, 5 minutes have elapsed from the match, 5 minutes to go. Letting every match be a 10 or 15-minute time limit until your main event. Then, hey, you guys get 30 minutes, or at least that's what the bell keeper is going to say anyway.
Right.
Timekeeper.
I always hated that when I was a kid, though, because I totally figured out when the match was going to end. Because at all the indie shows that I went to, it was like 5 minutes left, and you're like, no, that they're going home here any second. And I was like 9 years old and figured that out. Like every time they say 5 minutes.
The first time I remember really paying attention to the time was the Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels Iron Man match. I was like, oh, here we go. I was the same way, bro. I'm like, oh, they're going to finish it. Somebody's going to get a pin. Hey, nobody got a pin. They got to do it again. Come on. Here come Gorilla Monsoon. We're going to restart the match and have it get on.
The funny thing about that is that was, that's one of the greatest matches of all time. But essentially, it's just a regular match because it just, when they went into the sudden death overtime, it just basically became a match.
Yeah, really.
So it was like a 65-minute just match.
Had a little TV time out there and then come back and Gorilla Monsoon restarted the match.
Well,
I think it was like 63 something.
Barry Windham and Ric Flair did a lot of those Broadways. Man, in about 86, 87 there, they were having, and there was one episode of Worldwide. Jim Cornette was talking about this week. There was one episode of Worldwide Wrestling, I believe it was 1986, where Ric Flair versus Barry Windham was the program. It was a 60-minute the whole show of Worldwide Wrestling.
If you can do it, do it.
They did it. It was fantastic.
I'm sorry if I'm confused here, guys, but like I said, we got a lot of people here. Whose call was that? Was that yours, Rich, or is that yours, Brian?
I haven't done mine yet.
Okay, go ahead and throw yours out. We've been here almost an hour already, and we're still on pros and cons.
All right, do you want mine real quick then?
Yeah, throw it out, man.
My con is Heath Slater and the treatment of him.
He's on TV?
Yeah, he's on TV, but they still don't have anything for him, and it shows. And how are you going to have Heath come into the office basically saying he doesn't make enough money to feed his kids? Ask Shane, for a raise, get beat up by Drew McIntyre, and then we never revisit that again. Period. This week we're not even talking about that. This week he wins the 24/7 championship.
48 7-11 championship.
What did R-Truth call it? The Hardcore European Television Championship?
Yeah, something.
But yeah, he wins that, loses it in 60 seconds. And I mean, honestly, I thought for sure last week, whenever they were looking for a tag team partner, and then he was like, "Oh, you're my tag team partner," talking about R-Truth. Yeah. It should have been Heath Slater there. Heath Slater's the one that got jumped by Drew McIntyre. He thought himself that he was going to get to go help Roman. No, they just did it just to bury him, and it's like they don't see it that way, but that's really how it goes.
Well, I mean, I know Heath is your boy and all, and I'm not downplaying his talent and ability, but it's not just him. They're crapping on everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess I'm just saying Heath's been there for 14 years. He's been there for 14 years. He's been the leader of every faction he's ever been in, except for Nexus. And when he was in the 3-man band, he was the leader of Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal, both of which have won championships. And then Heath's first singles championship is going to be the 24/7 title for like 60 seconds. I don't understand why they hate Heath so bad. That's my con. Why you hate Heath so bad?
Brian, I think that Heath Slater is his own worst enemy, and I'll explain that to you. In my eyes, he is a Barry Horowitz, a Brad Armstrong. He's so good at helping everybody else look so good that he's kind of stuck in that enhancement role. You know what I mean?
Okay, Brad Armstrong was one of the greatest WCW lightweight champions of all time. Just saying. And Brad Armstrong is a member of the cursed but legendary Armstrong family.
Okay. It sounded like you said they all have cursed butts. Cursed butt.
I'm waiting on you to go ahead and
have cursed butts.
Go ahead and put over Barry Horowitz now.
Hey, Barry Horowitz was a GWF heavyweight champion. He was also the GWF North American champion. He wasn't always a jobber. I'm patting myself on the back right now.
Yes, there you go.
You started with the cons, didn't you?
I did.
Okay, well, Tony Khan's not here, so we're going to move on. Go ahead and take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back and try to get to some weekly news. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Since 2001, drug companies dumped 1 billion opioid pills in West Virginia, causing over 3,000 overdose deaths and thousands of babies born addicted by no fault of their own. I'm attorney Stephen New. If you're the grandparent or guardian of a child born with neonatal abstinence syndrome, call me. I'll help you seek just compensation.
Call the law offices of Stephen P. New at 1-844-BAD-PILLS before time runs out.
All right, guys, and we are back. And Steve New, you was like 3 places there in a matter of like 40 seconds just now.
Hey, what can I say? Sometimes I get around.
I get around. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about some weekly news. The way we're going to do it this week, we're going to try something a little different here on the show. Me and Brian's going to kind of bounce back and forth and get Derek, Rich, and Steve's opinion on some of the stuff going on out there. I'll go ahead and start. Lars Sullivan was reportedly hurting wrestling injured to begin with, but now his knee's messed up and he's going to be out 6 to 9 months. Do you guys think that they're going? I'm going to ask you, Steve. Do you think that they're going to bring him back and run with him, or do you think that was his shot? He's done now.
Oh,
Because
they're
you
gonna
see
bring
where
him
they was
back.
going with him.
Oh yeah, I think they're invested.
Still?
Yeah, yep. I
Okay.
think they'll bring him back.
Rich, Derek, do you guys agree?
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
I agree. What Derek said.
Well, I don't like your answers, guys. Brian, do you agree?
I do. I think they got
Damn
too
it.
much invested.
Yeah.
They're going to bring him back.
All right. Well, I think they're going to bring him back too, guys.
Oh, now we're all together.
Well, we're all together. We like
Maybe
to party.
they're gonna get him some Smile Direct in the meantime.
All right, on to another story. There was low WWE Stomping Ground attendance. Low attendance at the Tacoma Dome in Tacoma, Washington for the first ever WWE Stomping Grounds pay-per-view. The arena had half of the seating curtained off to hide the empty seats, despite a decent line for walk-up tickets before the show, and a lot of free tickets given out on the day of the event. Defy Wrestling's Matt Farmer noted on Twitter that there were around 6,000 fans in attendance, which would be the smallest WWE pay-per-view crowd in a long time.
But 6,000 fans to any regular Joe, that's a good crowd. But
they're not any regular Joe.
they're not.
We've
They're
talked
not.
about
Well,
this time
you
and
are.
time again.
You also got to consider the fact that after all of the comps and the buy one get one frees and all that stuff, they actually only sold right around 4,000 to 4,500 seats, roughly.
Well, I'm going out on a limb saying this, but I don't think that's where they're making their money at, boys.
And also, the Tacoma Dome holds 16,000 people.
Yep.
So 6,000 or 4,000 doesn't look like a lot.
And if you guys followed it there, Raw and SmackDown was very similar. There wasn't a lot of people there.
Mm-hmm.
Tarping off a lot of the area. I don't.
And ratings are way.
If I was Seth Rollins, I'd be uptight right now too. You know what I'm saying?
Ratings are actually up, believe it or not. This week, ratings went up for the WWE. Did you read that?
When you're on the bottom, though, you can only go so far now. You know what I'm saying?
Up relative to what, Resner?
To like
To the week before? Yeah.
To the week before when it was the lowest ever.
Low ratings. It was up from there.
Here you go. I don't know if you guys seen this. This come out today. I'm super jacked about this. The WWE Network will air Evolve 131, their 10-year anniversary show, on the network on July 13th, which ironically is the same day of AEW's Fight for the Fallen. Did you guys see that?
I did not see that.
And not only that, but
I don't-
right before the show started, Kenny Omega put out a tweet, and then he quickly deleted it. But somebody was cool enough to snatch it up before he deleted it. And he said, and I quote, "If lining your pockets with blood money is okay, then what's wrong with trying to undermine a charity show for victims of gun violence? I hear that healthy competition is supposed to be a good thing, and yet I can't help but feel like I'm going to be sick." Thoughts, gentlemen?
Wow. That's a very political answer in this day and age.
Well, we talked about it a few weeks ago about, is this a war? I think it's a war now, boys. I mean, I don't think you can sugarcoat it anymore. I mean, it is where we're at right now. And Chris Jericho was not announced for the event up until right before the show. Right after that happened, all of a sudden Chris Jericho is going to be at Fight for the Fallen. So,
well, dude, it's a Tony Khan's a businessman. This is a charity event. It's a tax write-off. He doesn't care. Like, yeah, people can come if they're in the area, whatever. But I don't think that he really cares about, or that Evolve is going to take that many viewers away from AEW.
well, I mean, they started it with the other pay-per-view. Help me out, Eric. What's it called? The other one coming up?
Fighter Fest?
Fighter Fest.
Fighter Fest.
That's going to be the same day as NXT UK TakeOver. So WWE kind of started right there, booking the same day that they were doing their thing. And then now all of a sudden, okay, well, let's bring in another company to run a show on the WWE Network, which is so unlike them. It's just very interesting to me.
I don't believe that Evolve or NXT UK has what it takes to even affect them.
No.
I don't either.
And I'm just going to watch the AEW stuff live and then go back and watch the NXT UK or Evolve thing later.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Thanks,
and that's
WWE Network.
the best part about the network. They kind of shoot themselves in the foot that way because yeah, we're going to let these guys run, head to head, but you can always come back to us later.
Right.
Well, back to the war thing. If you guys remember back in the Monday Night Wars, Nitro would come on after, do a double shot that night. So if you wanted to watch all of Raw and then roll over to Nitro afterwards to watch it, you could. I think
many times in law school.
I almost failed high school because of that.
I didn't almost fail law school because I was in my second year by the time I did that. But many times would I watch first hour of Nitro, then go to Raw and watch Raw live, taped or whatever it was, but I'd watch it then 9 to 11, and then turn on Nitro again, watch that first hour again, and stay up until 2 a.m.
I think one of the most difficult times of my life, gentlemen, was at about 10:57, 10:58 on a Monday night during the Monday Night Wars. Because I loved it both. I didn't know which one I wanted to watch. I was switched back and forth probably 30 times in a matter of 2 minutes. Often I was.
When I was in college, I was a Nielsen viewer. True story.
One of those guys, huh?
Yeah. This was in Boston. So I was an influencer before that was even a thing. But they were great. But I would turn on Nitro, go to my friend's house, watch Raw, come back, and then watch the next part of Nitro. But yeah, like I was part of Nitro having ratings in the late 90s.
But anyway, we could stay there for a long time. I think it's very interesting, and might have something to say to our topic later on, but we'll get to that shortly. Brian, what else you got out there, buddy?
All right, EC3 is having a tough time on the main roster, which is not news to any of us, but EC3 seems to be having issues as of late and can't seem to get the push he may believe he deserves. John Cena took to Twitter to write some inspirational John Cena stuff. Never stop dreaming. Chasing those dreams requires an incredible amount of work. Never give up. EC3 responded with dreams become nightmares. The tweet comes after EC3 made an interesting response to Monday's Raw angle and saw him introduced as a potential special guest referee for Baron Corbin, taking on the WWE Universal Champion Seth Rollins at Stomping Grounds. But Rollins had been attacking potential referees with steel chair shots all night long, and EC3 was the next victim. This led to a comedy bit with the New Day, which ended up with EC3 face down on the ramp. EC3 responded to a tweet from the segment and wrote, "Every time I make you laugh, I suffer more inside."
Wow.
It's getting really deep over there for EC3. I don't know if that's how he really feels or if he's going for a depression gimmick or what we're doing here.
Well, there's a form of want of acceptance in not just wrestling, but the entertainment world. And imagine being one of the top guys at Impact, going to NXT, being a top guy at NXT, and then coming to the main roster and just continuously get crap. Imagine what that would do to your ego and your psyche. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Yeah, it's not fun. I'll just tell you, it's not fun to move places where you think you're a talented guy, then you go someplace else, you're like, oh, I don't know anything, or maybe yeah, I'm still good. Why are you treating me like this?
Right.
Just because I didn't go to college, but it's like, hey, but it's I would be upset if I were EC3. He deserves better.
All right, we're going to throw one more out a piece, Brian, and then we're going to have to move on. I got to figure out which one I'm going to throw out. I got a couple left here. I'll go ahead and throw this one out. Daniel Wheeler, Dash Wilder, is thinking of legally changing his name to Cash Wilder, which would be a smart move if he goes that route, but I'm not so sure he's leaving now considering all the camera time they've been getting here the last couple of weeks. What do you guys think?
Did you say Cash Wilder?
Yeah, Cash Wilder.
Why wouldn't you just change his name to Dash Wilder?
Because right now WWE has rights
owns
to
the
Dash
rights to
Wilder.
Dash Wilder.
Yeah, but Ryback legally changed his name to Ryback, didn't he?
And I'm sure when that happened, Rich, that the WWE made sure that would not happen again. You know what I mean?
Well, and not only that, when he changed his name to Ryback, when he went on the Indies, he wasn't allowed to use Ryback for a long time. He had to just call himself the big guy.
That's true.
Yeah. Dash Wilder. I'm all right. Yeah.
Why not? You know, I mean, maybe he's working everybody and just, maybe he's content
That's
with
a
where
good
he's
name.
at. I don't know.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian. What else you got, buddy? One more.
Well,
Make it a good
my
one.
last piece of news comes from the world of MLW, where Savio Vega is coming back to wrestling. How exciting is that?
Savio Vega?
Savio Vega will debut at MLW's Never Say Never 19 at the Melrose Ballroom in New York City on July 25th. The event will be on MLW Fusion TV taping for BN Sports. MLW had this to say when referring to Vega's upcoming return: "We're delighted to have Savio join MLW as a player coach." So looks like he's going to be coaching as well.
I mean, if it wasn't for him, Bruce Pritchard referenced this a couple weeks back on the show, but if it wasn't for him, would Stone Cold have got the push that he got? You know what I mean?
I don't know. Those ringmaster strap matches are always awesome.
It was brutal.
No, he's also the guy who told Goldust to rub up his
yeah,
chest.
he was. You're right. I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah, so good for Savio. Get a paycheck.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Get a paycheck in New York, where no doubt
New York.
Queens actually, he'll be over. You know,
Oh,
there was a lot of Hispanics in the crowd when I was up there.
Is Conan with MLW?
Yes, he is.
Ooh, I like it. Conan, Savio Vega.
Yep. Conan's kind of a player coach as well. He gets in the ring when he needs to.
He's smart. He knows a lot about the business.
Yeah, he was in the Battle Royal WrestleMania weekend. Just helping guys learn and teach them and that kind of stuff.
I know I said one more topic for each of us, gentlemen, but I got to go ahead and throw these two out. These two come out after me and Brian discussed the topics this morning. It was reported that Fox wants Jerry Lawler on TV when WWE hits airways this fall. Why not? I'm sure they would try to tell him to get Jim Ross too, if they could.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to throw shade, and I'm really not. But
Throw
I
it,
couldn't
baby,
hear you
throw
over
it.
Brian's typing. He was typing louder than you were talking.
Who was? I'm not typing.
Who's typing? Is
I
it Derek?
It's not me, but I heard the typing.
I think you're hearing the
No, you're hearing my
you're
dog
hearing the
upstairs.
dog upstairs
Losing his freaking mind.
doing that.
Oh, I thought somebody was really Googling the shit out of something.
I was like, man, that dog can really type.
I did that on Facebook for my daughter the other night when I was imitating Kermit typing the letter.
Kermit T. Frog here.
She thought it was really fun.
Last thing I got before we move on, guys. Tony Schiavone and Conrad Thompson said there's a rumor, an innuendo, is that Arn Anderson is going to start a podcast with Conrad Thompson later this year. I think that would be great.
I hope it takes the place of Tony Schiavone's podcast. Because Tony Schiavone sucks.
It's whatever. Hate on him if you like, but he was a crucial part of my childhood, and I enjoy listening to him bullshit. So
He doesn't. That's all he does is bullshit.
that's okay.
There's no
That's okay.
substance to
There's
that
room
show
out there in the world
whatsoever.
for shenanigans. It don't always have to be legitimate
Thought?
I mean,
Analysis?
Yeah, why not bullshit
It
for no
doesn't?
reason? No, it doesn't.
Because I'm telling you, if I don't get any type of substance out of your wrestling podcast, I turn it off. No
That's
matter what
fine.
it is.
That's
Same
fine.
here.
Well, obviously, I'm not the minority because even though it is Conrad's least downloaded podcast, it still gets a good amount of downloads on it. So,
All because of Conrad. Thanks, Conrad, for saving Tony's career along with everyone else's.
whatever. If by some chance you come across this, Tony, I enjoy your work. These guys suck. I still like you, old buddy. I don't know
Tony,
about
I think you should have stuck to baseball. You sucked back then, you suck now, and you hardly remember anything
we
about
suck again.
the sport that you're talking about.
You need to calm down, Brian. You are out of control. You need to leave.
Tony
Siobhan.
Schiavone should do a talk show with Conrad should give Matt Coon Tony Schiavone, and then there could be two people on a podcast that would make me never, ever, ever listen to it. It'd be the most unlistened to by Brian Resner podcast in America.
You need a hug.
They'd have to shut the doors.
They would. But anyway, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back and discuss this week's topic. And it's going to be a lot of fun, I believe. We're going to have to move through it rather quickly because we've been rambling, but that's what we do. We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back, guys.
Two attorneys, one location. Gavin Ward and Josh Miller.
Hello, my name's Gavin Ward. I'm an attorney serving Southern West Virginia. If you need help with a real estate transaction or closing, probating an estate, a property dispute, estate planning, or bankruptcy, give us a call. We can help.
Hello, I'm attorney Josh Miller. I serve Southern West Virginia. If you've been injured in a car accident or hurt on the job or charged with a crime, please come see me today. I can help.
For a free consultation, call 681-207-7400.
All right, guys, here we go.
Where's the pig?
He's back here. I had to leave him behind. We run a long time today. He's back here. He's still around.
With apologies to our sponsor, the pig.
Brian, the floor is yours, my friend.
It's mine? My
Yep.
floor? Well, great. So, we're talking about the conspiracy. The conspiracy theory that the WWE and AEW are together. And everyone on this show gives me the look like, what are you talking about? There's no way that you could actually buy in to this Vince Russo crockpot theory. Is it crockpot? Crackpot. Crackpot theory, not a crockpot. Not
You
a
make some
crockpot
stew,
theory,
Brian? What are you making over here,
but
buddy?
a crackpot
He's got a
theory.
beef roast.
So, I listened to the podcast, or did you listen to it, Derek?
Yeah.
Okay, and you listened to it, Mr. Rich Quick. And
Earlier tonight.
Stephen P. New, did you listen to it?
I don't have anything to do with anything Russo does.
Bro.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because
It's part of the contract.
Yeah, it's part of his Cornette Cult of Cornette contract. Nope. He does not mess with
Vince Russo today, or this week rather, his podcast this week was about the conspiracy of the death of Paul McCartney. So that was fun. But anyway, go ahead.
Was it worth listening to? Because I can't imagine.
I enjoyed it. There's going to be a part 2 next week.
Yeah, but you listen to Tony Schiavone, so I can't take your opinion. Let me know if one of you other guys check it out.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
All right.
I don't like Russo. I only listen to this podcast for this show.
Okay, so when you listen to it, you got to admit there were some things that moved you, that made you think, maybe they are. No, not once.
Not even a little bit.
I can say that they had some valid points, some valid thoughts, but once I thought for half a second, I went, no, this is easy. This is easily explained. Like they have one, like only one thing that could have happened, and then it can't be explained why that didn't happen. And it's like, no, of course it can be explained. There was going to be a contract. You could have let this lapse. You could have let that. You know, it's so it was just a.
Okay, well, I've got a list of things here that make this group of people, the conspiracy horsemen, all except for one, believe that AEW is in bed with WWE. I have the list right here. But then I also have some inside information from the WWE.
Where'd you get it? Inside Ricochet's butthole?
I did not. Why don't you get that off your mind, John? Just watch the video.
You said inside information.
All right, so I'm going to go through this list, and then I'm going to tell you what the inside information that I have, and then you guys tell me what you think, okay?
Are we going to debate each thing one at a time? Or
should we, or should I just go down the whole list?
Well,
no, I'm going to save my legal analysis. You go ahead and spit all of this out. I haven't listened to the podcast, and then I'm going to give you my legal expert opinion.
And then he's going to debunk it all.
All right. Well,
go ahead and start.
All right. Well, we start with the DX reference in the Hall of Fame speech. Yes, it was innocent enough. they did bring Billy Gunn out there, even though they knew that he was working with AEW, and they did the AEW jokes. They did the, oh, I don't work here. Oh, Vince will buy that pissant company if he wants it. All that stuff. Now, easily that could just be DX throwing jabs. Not that big of a deal. Then we had the Dean Ambrose send-off, which was the weirdest send-off in wrestling history. We have never seen anybody get sent off like that. Them saying, hey, I'm not going to sign a new contract. And Vince basically being like, this guy's great. And here he goes out the door. We hope to see him again. But here he is, the wonderful Dean Ambrose. Don't forget about Dean Ambrose. Here, let's do a special pay-per-view for no reason about Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose, Dean Ambrose, Dean Ambrose. Goodbye. Now that was a very strange, we talked about, it's the whole reason why I thought Dean Ambrose leaving was a complete work.
Well, I think was going on there, sorry to interrupt you there, Brian, but you mentioned DX there, and I think you're right on the money. I think that was just DX playing into the characters they were back in prime time. And then Dean Ambrose, I think what happened there is obviously John Moxley lied to him. I mean, they probably thought that he was going to re-sign.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
because why else would you do that? You know what I mean?
Possibility.
Well, and not only that, but Moxley has said that it didn't turn into that until WWE realized he wasn't re-signing.
Oh, we got to do something.
Yeah, we got to do something, and it was just supposed to be a regular house show, and then they turned it into come and see the Shield for the last time. You know,
right?
He didn't get paid anything extra for that.
$500, I think.
$500. It was a house show appearance for which he got $500. WWE made a ton of money off of it. And on the Hall of Fame thing, if Billy Gunn's contract with AEW didn't prohibit him being at the WWE or making an appearance on there, it didn't matter where he worked, where he didn't work. He was contractually obligated to AEW. If that contract didn't have a prohibition against him appearing on WWE television or anything like that, there's nothing wrong with that. Billy Gunn could have gone to New Japan or anywhere
let's
else.
keep going down the list, and then we'll get your full opinion at the end. The recent WWE product is something that's also being brought into question, as if the fact that maybe Vince McMahon is putting out an inferior product just to launch AEW, just to push AEW to the next level. Now that's reaching. That's quite a stretch.
Why?
Well, there's a lot of factors in there. Let's keep going. No non-compete clauses. Everybody who left the WWE that went to AEW had no non-compete clauses. Why? Why did Dean Ambrose have a no non-compete? I am not a WWE superstar. I'm under a no-compete clause. If I leave my job right now, I cannot get another job in solar for like a year. So how do all these guys have no non-compete clauses that just show right back up? And why were there so many WWE Legends contract holders have something to do with AEW's Double or Nothing?
I'm going to jump in there about the no compete clause. I don't think it was a thing anymore. WWE really hasn't had any competition in a long time.
I have a theory on that.
Okay.
Just saying. May I, Mother, may I?
Yeah.
All right, good. Now, I think that the non-compete clauses are for wrestling shows that have a television that are on television. I think it is a loophole in a contract.
Brilliant.
Because AEW is not on television. They're not a televised weekly show yet. So it could have been a very specific, like Ring of Honor, TNA, a televised weekly show you cannot perform on one of their programs.
Maybe so.
So that's my theory.
I can tell my buddy Steve New is dying to pick this thing apart. Hold
on, Steve. Hold on. There's more coming. How about Billy Gunn using Billy Gunn? We've seen him in Impact using Kip James. He never, ever uses Billy Gunn outside of the WWE. He's not supposed to. He's supposed to be the artist formerly known as Billy Gunn. But Billy Gunn was using Billy Gunn in the Battle Royal. Then let's fast forward to that horrible segment that we talked about with the electric chair and Sami Zayn dropping AEW on WWE TV. Why? Why in the world would you bring attention to AEW the night after Double or Nothing on your television show for nothing? Then we go to the Triple H throne spot where Cody Rhodes destroyed the throne. Does that even seem like a Cody Rhodes type of deal? It seems like something Triple H would have wrote, because he wants to be that king figure, and he wants them to look at him as the big bad boogeyman. Now Triple H has responded to that throne video, or to that throne attack, with a video of his own sitting in that throne that looks almost identical to the throne that was destroyed at AEW. Then you think about, if you're going to run a company, and you're going to run a company secretly, and you want your best hands over there, what do? You fire Arn Anderson and Dean Malenko and let them go.
Well, Dean Malenko just left.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Or did he? Yeah. Was he
Or
planted?
did he? Oh, also, Cody Rhodes doesn't own his name. Yet every media outlet calls him Cody Rhodes. When Sports Illustrated interviews him, they interview him as Cody Rhodes. Even the announcers at AEW refer to Cody as Cody Rhodes. And
they know who the F he is.
And no one is giving them a cease and desist. Vince McMahon always cease and desist. I mean, he cease and desists little local nothing companies for using a name that he owns. So why would he not do that to the AEW? Also, Renee Young's position. Renee Young is the wife of Dean Ambrose. Renee Young is in a position where she is filled in constantly on what the WWE is doing. Why would they keep Renee in the same position that she's in if they have nothing to do with it? Another name that comes up, Bruce Pritchard. Bruce Pritchard was rehired by the WWE. For what reason? Is it because he's extremely creative? Because I think we all know that's not true. No, the reason why is because, do you know what else Bruce did? Bruce brokered the deal between WWE and ECW when WWE was funding ECW and no one knew about it. When that place was bankrolled. Well, allegedly, and a lot of people say that started the day that Paul Heyman took over from Todd Gordon. The day that happened is when WWE started funneling money into ECW. And now this would be a way bigger version of what they did, what they actually did do in 96, 97, 98, 99. They did it. It's not that this is above them or this is crazy. This is something they did at one time. So why would you not want to do it on a bigger scale? Another name that comes up is Conrad Thompson. Conrad Thompson gets Bruce's job back at the WWE. Conrad Thompson is clearly working with AEW. And during the Something Else to Wrestle With show on the WWE Network, Conrad was promoting StarCast literally behind him. He's sitting here talking. StarCast is right here. StarCast is an AEW deal. Now, of course, we already talked about ECW history repeating itself. The same thing happened again. Tony Khan and Vince McMahon have a weird comparison because Tony Khan is a part of a football dynasty, an NFL team. That's what Vince always wanted, was an NFL team. He's got one. What Tony Khan always wanted is a wrestling federation. Vince has got one. Very interesting backwards comparison there. Another thing was something that Derek mentioned earlier, which was WWE superstars interacting with non-WWE superstars and WWE superstars tweeting about AEW. That's weird and shouldn't necessarily be happening. And finally on this list, Jim Ross and Chris Jericho, just like Dean Malenko and Arn Anderson, are WWE loyalists in usually. All of a sudden they're with AEW and they're 100% behind AEW, which is kind of weird. Now, the inside information that I received is, do you know who was a VIP, go anywhere, go backstage, hang out with Vince McMahon in Vince McMahon's office, friend every time the WWE showed up in Florida?
Tony Khan. Tony Khan. It's Tony Khan. I'm Tony Khan. It's Tony Khan.
Yes, Tony Khan. Yes. Tony Khan is before AEW. Tony Khan was a walk back there, everybody knows your name type of guy in the WWE. And now he's running his own wrestling promotion. Or is he running his own promotion? Maybe he's just keeping it on ice for Vince McMahon.
Hey, my man Derek Jones has something to say over
there. So misery, loves misery. Well, money loves money. So that doesn't do anything for me because Mike Tyson, he's a big WWE guy backstage at Double or Nothing. That point holds no water whatsoever.
That he was actually friends with Vince McMahon doesn't hold water.
Cody Rhodes and Dustin and Jericho were all probably friends with Vince at one time too, as was Jim Ross. But that has
imagine being a huge wrestling fan and being a billionaire. You're going to make friends with Vince McMahon. I don't care who you are.
And StarCast is not an AEW thing. StarCast.
Yes, it is.
StarCast is a pop culture wrestling convention.
Okay, how many StarCasts have happened without an AEW?
Hang on. Don't answer that because it's like 2, if that.
It's not any.
Well, there's like 2 that's happened altogether. But look at WrestleCon.
There's about to be 3.
Look at WrestleCon, Brian. How long has these other promotions and con events piggybacked off of WrestleMania? It could very well be.
They don't happen in the same building.
No, they don't.
StarCast doesn't happen in the same building.
It's not in the same exact area?
It's in the same town, but it's not in the same building for neither show.
My buddy Derek went to the one there last time. Went to one of them ones there.
And Jimmy went to the second one, and he had to go up and down the strip to go to different hotels for StarCast in the show.
Okay. Well, let me mention the thing that you mentioned that really kind of grinded my gears there for a minute. It was the whole idea of Renee Young is being told months in advance of storylines and because, bro, when I was in charge there, bro, I would fill them all in and I would tell them everything. See, that's working under the assumption that everybody works like Vince Russo. That's dumb. And I have zero. I would probably bet money that the commentators know who the champ's going to be in 3 months.
I'll tell you what. If I had the book, I'm with you. I'm telling as little amount of people as possible. I'm going to keep it a secret. I'm going to work everybody as long as I can. And if I was a commentator, I wouldn't want to know what's going on. I would like to be able to call it as it happens to get my real reaction of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think that's very unfair to Renee. And yes, they did mention there are a ton of different things she could do, but she's doing what she's doing right now.
Ricochet could use some help. I mean, there's a lot she could do there.
Well, and now that goes back to working people. That goes back to my other point. If this were to be real, a real life thing, and this point was brought up on the podcast, you would have to work the boys. Because, what's the old saying, like telephone, telegraph, telewrestler? This would have to be, this is why a lot of conspiracies don't hold water. Because in order for this to be a real thing, a lot of people would have to be in the know. And you can't keep that many people quiet.
Not necessarily. The ECW thing, no one knew except for Bruce Pritchard, Paul Heyman, Vince McMahon.
Oh, I thought you were going to go like the People versus Ocean 11. Like that's a movie. That's not. This is
no.
The same
I'm
thing.
talking about ECW. In ECW, the wrestlers never knew there was a talent exchange.
This is on a much bigger scale. You don't think Cody would? You don't think Cody or the Bucks would be a little pissed if they were getting worked?
Unless they were the ones working.
So the boys in ECW didn't know there was a talent exchange, but there was ECW talent and Paul Heyman showing up on WWF television?
No, that wasn't an exchange though. That was a promo. I'm talking about a
They
full-on
thought they thought it was real. They thought the ECW invasion of the WWF in '97 was real.
No. Well, I'm not saying they thought it was real. Even though there were some real parts of it, like that situation with Taz, where Taz thought that they were actually coming to whip their ass, so they were really fighting back on a lot of these guys. But no, I mean they told them, hey, we're going to do a spot on Raw. Raw's coming to Philly, and Vince McMahon's going to let us, get our shit in. But no one said, hey, Vince McMahon is funding ECW. If Vince McMahon wants one of you, I'm going to give you the opportunity to go there. We may be bringing talent from there to here, like Doug Furness and Jerry the King Lawler.
Or Al Snow.
There's all types of different people
that
showed back in ECW. And none of them
boys
knew.
just didn't know that. The boys didn't know that Paul Heyman was getting a check from WWE every week. So therefore, the whole time that he is talking them down and talking how bad they hate Vince McMahon and Vince Russo, Paul Heyman was getting a check every week. That's what he's saying.
All right, you want me to debunk all this right now, John?
Yeah, go ahead, Steve. I've been waiting on it.
Hold on. One more thing. So, how about you can compare this to the very first time Vince McMahon bought the WCW. You got to do it real small since I'm vertical. Bought WCW, May 27th, 1996. Because that was the first time they all thought Vince was doing some kind of shenanigans. He had to wait until they fell apart, but it wasn't happening then. It's not happening now.
What about this whole idea, before you speak your piece there, Steve, what about this whole idea? It's not just this Evolve 131 coming up July 14th on the WWE Network for only $9.99 per month. Wow, I should totally work for these guys. That's pretty good, wasn't it? Anyway, it's not just that. If you look back at the last couple of years, that's kind of Triple H has been doing this for a while, where he's getting other companies to not necessarily bring their video collection, but he's getting other independent companies. Like he's done a lot of stuff over in UK with different companies over there. You think maybe there's a possibility that all this is legitimately going on, but like they said on Russo's podcast, I think it was Stevie Richards that brought it up, that Vince is just too preoccupied with the XFL and other stuff going on, that Triple H is making the moves without his knowledge in the background? Maybe
this time around the only people that know are Triple H, Cody Rhodes, and the Bucks. And they're working Kenny Omega because he emotionally couldn't handle it.
I don't like Kenny Omega. Derek, I'm sorry, I know you're a fan, but with his Jerry curl at this last pay-per-view, I was excited wanting to see what Kenny Omega was about, and I just couldn't get past the Jerry curl. Just couldn't do it.
In the ring, I'm all about Kenny Omega. In a match, Kenny Omega is awesome. But I swear everything he does on the microphone or outside of the ring, I absolutely detest. And I'm when he's out of the ring, I'm totally Jim Cornette on Omega because I just don't dig him. In the ring, though,
Corny don't like him either?
Corny hates
all right.
Kenny Omega.
I like Corny more and more all the time.
Oh, Jim Cornette absolutely despises Kenny Omega.
He hates him.
We won't go into it, but he was in the news this past week. Somebody brought up some old racist comments he made. And
he was repeating something that Bill Watts had said.
Is that what it was?
Yes. Bill Watts had said those very words, working an angle. Corny was repeating the story. Now, what you can't do as a white guy, even if another white guy said that, as a white guy, you can't say.
Vince McMahon did.
He shouldn't have done that,
that was stupid.
Either.
That was stupid.
With Booker T and Sharmell standing there.
Did you see Jim Cornette's response to that?
I did. It was great.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
You ramblers out there, check it out if you haven't seen it yet. It's pretty comical.
Yeah.
But Derek, is it too far-fetched what I said about Triple H knowing what's going on, and Vince not going to know what's going on? Because Triple H has kind of been fishing for different talent and different companies for a while now.
Well, yeah, he's trying to grow the brand because he's got his ear to the ground. He knows that the indies are where a lot of these guys are coming up from, and they're struggling to develop talent, homegrown talent from NXT. So he wants to reach out to these companies where they have people that have a good base for wrestling and then develop them into the production value that he's looking for. And as far as Evolve goes, they're pushing Evolve big, but Evolve is their new NXT. Evolve is their developmental. That's what they do now.
The new OVW, if you will.
I think the question is, do you feel that this could be, that the AEW thing could be a Triple H idea?
No.
You don't think so?
Not even a little bit.
Okay. Steve, you were waiting to debunk this all. Debunk this all for my friends here.
All right, real quick.
Please.
All right. World Wrestling Entertainment is a publicly traded corporation on the New York Stock Exchange.
What's the trade at right now? Do you remember?
It's a $71 a share today.
Well, it was almost $100 there this time last year.
Almost $100 just a few months ago.
Yeah.
So, by all means, Vince, keep making these Saudi Arabia deals that your sponsors and everybody else don't like. And make
People don't fox with that, Vince.
And make my stock suffer. But anyway, WWE is a publicly traded corporation. And you know what publicly traded corporations have to do?
By the public?
Release their taxes.
Yeah, yes, and yes. But every quarter, they must file a 10-K with the Securities and Exchange Commission. And it's a disclosure of all of their business activities, and it's a report to their shareholders about why they've been doing what they've been doing, and if the stock price has gone down, why it did. If the stock price has gone up, why it did.
Wow, that right there kills it.
there would have to be, nobody is going to commit securities and exchange fraud on Wall Street to carry out some shenanigan like Russo is describing, because that's federal pen territory right there. And
you couldn't do it yourself? I mean, what if Vince McMahon isn't doing it through the WWE? Vince McMahon can totally open another company tomorrow.
No, not as the majority shareholder. No, he could not. And not only
what about the however many million dollars he took out last year of his own personal money for the XFL? They said, what if he's taking that and going
stock? That's perfectly fine. That stock deal had to be approved by the Securities and Exchange Commission.
But what I'm saying, Steve, is what if he took that money and put it towards building AEW?
Compete with his own shares.
Right. Now, what Derek's talking about is antitrust. And that's something altogether
different. Is that kind of like
antipasta? No.
No.
What Derek's talking about is an antitrust violation, which is something altogether different than securities exchange fraud, where you could harm your own stock by setting up a rival company or something like that. But it would all have to, if all of these things, and the Billy Gunn name thing intrigues me, because WWE would not necessarily have to issue a cease and desist. WWE could give Billy Gunn permission to use a trademark or copyright it holds. That's easy enough to do.
Somebody needs to tell Ricochet that Billy Gunn was the original ass man.
There you go. So, what do you mean? Why would they do that?
That was a solid ass joke, John.
Thanks, Brian.
Yes.
Thanks.
It was. I mean,
is it not possible that, because certain wrestlers in years past, sometimes they just let the copyright lapse, and then because they have to renew it?
A quick search of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office would let us know whether or not WWE still holds.
Let me back up a little bit there on that one. What you say that Vince can't do this, but what if Triple H and Stephanie did this? Even though they're part of the company, they're not the owner of the company. They still can't do it?
No, you are looking at one of the co-owners of WWE.
I
don't own as much stock as Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Shane McMahon, Paul Levesque, but I'm Levesque. I'm an owner. I'm a co-owner.
What the hell, man? Why didn't you be getting us backstage passes?
Not like that.
So it would be illegal for you to start a wrestling promotion?
Yeah.
On television.
Yes.
Push comes to shove, they could see you. You could get in trouble.
No. I couldn't get in trouble because I don't have a controlling interest. There's a
what if
difference.
Triple H doesn't have a controlling interest?
Triple H doesn't. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon and Shane McMahon all sold off their controlling interests.
So they're employees.
Right.
All of that would have to be disclosed, though. If they were going to invest, that would have to be disclosed to the shareholders like me. None of what Russo has talked about. Now, it will be interesting.
So your investments would have to be cleared through Vince McMahon before you can do anything?
No, I'm a minority shareholder.
Well, what separates you from Triple H if he sold all his shares?
I'm a minority shareholder of WWE. He's an employee. He's an employee. But if you have an employee who is the COO or whatever it is Triple H's position is,
that's just a name tag.
That has to be disclosed to other shareholders like myself in the 10K filings that they do with the SEC.
So if Triple H works for the WWE and he's not a controlling stockholder, then he has to clear what he does with his personal money and his personal life with all the stockholders?
Doesn't have to clear it, has to disclose it. Because as a shareholder, I want to know whether Triple H doing something else with another wrestling company is going to affect my investment. He doesn't have to clear anything for approval purposes. It just has to be disclosed on the 10K.
So here it says that Triple H and Stephanie both own about 35,000 shares.
There you go.
Currently.
About 34,000 more than I.
and Vince owns 82.
There you go. So it's not a matter of being able to control anything that anybody does. It's a matter of disclosing it to all the rest of us that own X number of shares of WWE stock. I think I may own more than that. I may own 1,200.
You just hurt my head, and I'm trying to process what you're saying here because I understand what Brian's saying here. Brian's saying, so if Dustin Rhodes left the WWE and he had, how many did you say Triple H has? 35?
35,000.
Okay, let's say Dustin Rhodes has some shares in the company because he wanted to make some money off of it. Let's say he's got 20,000 shares into the company. And he decides he's going to leave and go to AEW.
I don't know where the line of demarcation is between minority and majority stockholder.
I got you.
And that's the line of demarcation.
But let me ask you this. In a legal world. Okay, Triple H and Vince McMahon discussed this matter. And hence why Triple H sold so many stocks. You getting drinks again, Brian? I thought we talked about this, damn it.
I thought for sure it wasn't picking up this time.
Why? I'm just glad you weren't taking a leak.
Anyway, let's say, for instance, Triple H and Vince talked about this. I know if that come out, Vince could get in trouble, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. And they figured out that as long as there's not this many shares invested here, that he does not have to share with the rest of the shareholders what's going on. So Triple H sells off those amount of shares, and Triple H is being told by Vince McMahon, hey, go do this. You're no longer obligated here. You don't have to invest all this. Now, if push comes to shove and it was to go to court, maybe it could come up. But right off the bat, maybe it could just be swept under the rug and nobody can see anything that's going on, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love how Steve so succinctly stated that in the first part, and then you decided to just dumb it down, and now I'm back to just square one.
Rich, I put it in layman's terms, pal.
Well, the thing, I think what John was trying to say is if Triple H is no longer a significant majority shareholder, could he then? I still think it would have to be disclosed though because of his prominent title. You know, whether it's title or name only, I think it would have to be disclosed to the rest of us in the 10K.
That's a very interesting thing to think about. It really is.
Yeah.
Another thing you didn't mention, Brian, but Kurt Angle and The Undertaker being booked at StarCast 2 and then being pulled from StarCast 2. Why were they able to be booked to begin with? The Legends deal, okay. Then why the hell was Bret Hart at AEW Double or Nothing? Why was Diamond Dallas Page at Double or Nothing?
I'd like to be able to see those
because they're legends also
contracts, but I don't believe that they have exclusivity because Ric Flair goes all over the place.
Sure.
He'll show up for big time. Well, we went and saw him in Bluefield, and he was under.
I didn't get to see him. Did I tell you that story?
We don't see him on TV.
So you don't see him on TV. That's true.
You don't see him on MLW. You don't see him on Impact. You didn't see him at AEW, Double or Nothing.
I still say it's because the contract says a weekly wrestling television show. Because they don't care whether, and since AEW is technically not a weekly wrestling television show.
The only thing of any legitimacy that caught my ear there, having not listened to Russo, was the Billy Gunn name issue.
That is interesting.
Now, granted,
but in the past, haven't guys worked it out in like a previous contract to take back ownership of their name? AJ Styles had to do it before he left TNA.
Sure.
What do you mean? His name's not AJ Styles?
No.
What the hell's his name?
His name's Alan Jones.
So there's no Styles. AJ is Alan Jones.
AJ Styles was owned by WCW originally, and then TNA picked up that contract whenever it was just floating in the atmosphere.
You just hurt my head, Derek.
So TNA owned the name AJ Styles for a long time, but one of his later career changes in his contract, he had it worked into his contract that he owned his name again for merchandising reasons.
Did you just say AJ Styles was owned by WCW?
AJ Styles was a WCW wrestler.
What the hell?
Have you never seen him in WCW?
What was it like 1999 he was there?
Wrestling.
I don't. When was he there? Seriously, 1999, 2000, 2001?
Yeah.
Because I quit watching after a while.
Because didn't he he was there at the end?
Yeah.
Whenever WCW shut down.
So he was there when 3 Count and all them were doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's where Jeff Jarrett met him.
Title matches and everything.
Yep.
That's where Jeff Jarrett found him.
Okay.
During the Slapnuts phase. Jeff Jarrett.
Ramblers, I would love to get your feedback on this. I know our comment section's down. We'll be able to see what you guys say about this after the show.
I'll tell you what, so as to not appear as a salty cuss, when I'm doing some driving this week, I will turn on Russo's podcast just as Derek did for the sole purpose of listening to this conspiracy theory, because I like a good conspiracy theory. You know, there are those who think that man didn't land on the moon. There's no wind on the moon to make the American flag wave. You can see Neil Armstrong's face shield, and there's no reflection of the guy who's taking the photograph of him.
What about the boot print? The boot print is good because the boot print and the boot that's on display at the Smithsonian do not match.
Exactly. So there's lots of things like that, lots of conspiracy theories like that. So, you know, the name thing, I'll look at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office for the name Billy Gunn, because also on file with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and you see if Russo had half a brain or knew a good lawyer that sponsored his broadcast, he could have gone on to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office website and researched who actually holds the rights to the name Billy Gunn right now. That would have to be on file with the federal government.
And the name Cody Rhodes, because
he
brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And here, the thing about that is because Derek's on it, is that Vince Russo, it starts out very stupidly because he's like, bro, on TV, he's called Cody Rhodes. Bro, they call him Cody. No, they don't. It's Cody and Brandy Rhodes. When they come, when they get introduced, or, here's Cody and Dustin Rhodes. But it's when he comes down the aisle, it's Cody and Brandy Rhodes. He's just piggybacking off of her name because she was allowed to keep Rhodes. He wasn't. So
that she is.
But Sports Illustrated still refers to him as Cody Rhodes, and so does the announcers.
That's their fault.
AEW.
Mm-hmm.
Like they said, then that's just it'll probably be edited out later, but that's more of an ask for forgiveness instead of permission.
Yep.
I guess I'm gonna have to kick you off the show or something, Brian. All this water drinking and ice chewing and stuff. I've tried to be polite about it and tell you about it, but it still happens. So I guess I'm just going to push this magical button over here. I don't know.
He's parked down there in Florida right now.
There it is, right there.
Yeah, It's like 119 degrees here, man. I gotta drink water.
Brian's
I'd have messed everything up
sweating
now.
like a hoe in church over there.
It's crazy how hot it is here right now.
Where did Rich quit?
I'm trying to fix it. I broke it.
My car was legitimately 107 degrees today when I got in it.
Wow.
That's hot.
Yeah.
That's hot.
All right.
I'm still not sold on AEW and WWE in bed together.
Researching.
He's all over. Derek
This is
is
the
browsing.
most difficult website I've ever been.
It's a government website. What do you expect?
Is that kind of like government cheese?
Well, while Derek's looking, I want to bring up the fact that there was another conspiracy that wasn't necessarily about wrestling, but it was taken under investigation by wrestling podcast. Chris Jericho and the Kennedy assassination conspiracy. Did anyone hear that?
I did.
I
haven't
I
listened to it
rambled a
yet.
bit for my taste.
I liked it. It was good.
So
Derek?
as of January 14th, 2016, the individual Kip Sop owns Billy Gunn. So Billy Gunn owns his own name now.
Oh, there it is, that right there.
Boom! Next, Russo.
What about Cody Rhodes?
I'm
Bro.
working on it.
Well, you just
He said it was
debunked the Cody
difficult,
Rhodes. It's
okay?
yourself.
You know what I should offer to do?
What's that?
I should offer to go on Jim Cornette's podcast
Make it look like
and
a fool?
debunk point by point every single one of Russo's conspiracy theories.
You should.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I would listen for sure.
I don't think it'd be that hard to do, though, Steve.
Jim Cornette would let you too. He is in love with your ass. He talks about you just as much as he does his dog. And he fucking loves his dog.
He loves Harley Quinn. Last week I was listening to him. Can't remember if it was the drive-through the experience. And he said, I'm laying there in bed, and I've got Harley Quinn there, and then I'll wake up, and she gives you just a little kiss on the nose and that kind of stuff. He said, now, Stacy, he said, you better watch. She'll come up out of the bed swinging on you if you wake her up too harsh in the morning. So I think that Sin from OVW makes Jim walk the chalk. I'm telling you.
So, Rich, you're on to something there because the WWE does own the phrase Cody Rhodes, but the trademark for Brandy Rhodes is not filed for the WWE. So it's Cody and Brandy Rhodes.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Still doesn't say anything about the situation where the announcers continue to refer
I
to him
don't
as
remember the
Cody
announcers
Rhodes.
continuously calling him Cody Rhodes. I'm going to have to rewatch
And
it
the other
to see.
thing is, if his legal name is Cody Rhodes, WWE would have some
It's
trouble.
not. It's Cody Reynolds.
Cody Reynolds. All right.
Oh, by the way, Terry Reynolds, remember a couple weeks ago, guys, we mentioned about her having the gun in the airport?
Mm-hmm.
She was
Had a couple of them.
She was dismissed of the charges. So she's good to go.
Good.
It was an accident, she said.
Have you ever asked New Jack about Terry Reynolds? We won't get into it. It's
Oh,
fine,
wow.
but do it sometime.
It might be on our shoot interview on YouTube, guys. Go check
It's
it out.
not. It's
Brian,
not,
what are you
but
doing
should
here,
still
man?
check it out.
Jeez.
Well, I mean, 37,000 people have already watched it, so you might as well too.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah.
Derek is all up in it. You guys on the podcast can't actually see Derek, but he is all in it over here.
I'm trying to figure out when his trademark will expire so he can be Cody Rhodes again.
Derek's going to put out
they'll
a big
renew it.
spoiler.
Yeah.
Probably. I'm excited to see where we're going with wrestling, guys. I hate that the WWE's crowds are shrinking, but it's going to cause the product to get better, and I'm excited for the product to get better.
If they'll just turn these guys loose.
I think that's a lot of it.
I think that's a lot of it is just the micromanagement. I think if they'll turn some of these guys loose, they'll be shocked. They've dreamed of being professional wrestlers their entire lives. Now, can some of them act? Can some of them cut a good promo? Maybe not. But they've dreamed of being professional wrestlers their entire lives. They have heroes. They have guys that they've watched through the years. Wind them up, turn them loose, and just see what happens.
I agree.
Put a mouthpiece on him if you got to. You know?
Oh, it's a guy that Lars Sullivan. can't talk. Let's take the fact that he's a crappy human being out
Phil
of the
Collins can't walk,
Oh, good Lord.
but he can dance.
I'm missing a debate for this.
Yeah. But my thoughts exactly. Rich.
I think it comes on in 4 minutes. You're not missing it yet.
All right.
All right.
So Cody will be able to apply for his trademark in October. It expires in October of this year.
Wow.
I agree. I doubt very seriously they're going to let it go.
I bet the U.S.
What
Patent and
perfect timing.
I bet the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office gives his name back to him.
Probably. I mean, it's
That would be
family. It's all up in it. His dad and his brother and his wife.
His grandfather.
Grandpappy. You know who his grandpappy was? All right, real quick. Derek, do you think AEW and WWE are in bed together?
Absolutely not.
Rich quick.
Not even a little bit. It's easy to make an argument when you're talking about the exact same things that have been intertwined with one another. It's pro wrestling and money. Like, there's nothing random being pulled into it. It's those two very cut and dry things.
Woo.
It's easy to draw lines.
Yeah. Rich quick.
What? Yeah, what that kid said. Because, he's 100% right. There's no way it's involved that they're together. It wouldn't be – neither side is going to make as much money. Like, unless – because Vince is not going to be around. This is at least like a 10-year plan. Like, you're not going to, go, all right, we're going to blow up the – heat up the town. And, no, this isn't going to happen, in the beginning. For them to be real competition, it's going to take several years. And I think Vince can at least see that far ahead.
So give me time.
At the peak of the ticket sales, though, there were 75,000 people in the waiting room trying to get tickets to Double or Nothing. So,
don't
they
start
can be
Dave
a true
Meltzer.
competition.
Don't start Dave Meltzer. Steve New, is AEW and WWE in bed together?
I don't think so. I will say this because I remember when Impact started. What was it, 04 when
02.
TNA started?
2002.
02. All right. And that was Jerry Jarrett and Jeff Jarrett, right?
Yes.
Okay. Vince McMahon said, I wish those boys down there in Nashville the best of luck. And I believe that Vince McMahon and his inner circle in Connecticut are going, I hope AEW does well. And I think that I think he's wishing AEW well because WWE has been its best when there was some form of a feeder system for them in terms of talent and when there was some competition where people were interested in the sport. The sport hasn't returned to what it once was, and I think WWE will hope that maybe
went from 10,000 or 10 million viewers to now we're at about 2 or 4 or something like that. So it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Before you answer your question, Brian, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to say no. I don't think that they're in bed together either. It would be cool if they were. And back to what you were saying about Vince wishing TNA good luck at their inception.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel that he feels that way because even if AEW was to get to where they are a financial competition, I'm not talking ratings, I'm talking financially, it's going to be years down the road. I think somebody mentioned 10 years a minute ago. But even if they get to where they're a financial competitor with the WWE, it's going to be a long time before WWE starts seeing that money disappear. I know.
The best thing WWE can hope for is that AEW, New Japan, MLW, Ring of Honor, Impact, everybody, indie wrestling grows the pie because they've got the biggest chunk of the pie right
I think
now.
New Japan and Ring of Honor got the short end of the stick on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that.
Yep.
Now, Brian Resner, your compadres here on the Royal Ramble, we think that it is not a thing, that they are not in bed together. What say you, sir?
Well, I will say it like this. I'm a big conspiracy theory fan, and I don't believe the world's flat, but, man, I've watched a lot of hours about it. I've
Trying to convince
watched
yourself,
a lot of hours on the flat Earth theory, so...
You and Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt's a flat earther, I think.
I'm not a flat earther. Don't call me that, Steve. I'm not a flat earther.
I've just
watched
in.
a lot of hours of the flat Earth conspiracy to not believe it. just like I don't believe this conspiracy, but I'll definitely entertain it because I think conspiracies are entertaining.
Mm-hmm. They are. Speaking of that, Brian, go ahead and tell these ramblers around the world what's going on next week here on the show.
Well, since we dipped into the conspiracy world, we're going to go into it even deeper. And we're going to find out what your favorite wrestling conspiracy theory is of all time. Now, this cannot be something that's been proven true. It cannot be something that has been proven, well, not necessarily proven false. It's got to be a theory that's out there that may or may not be true. It's got to fit the conspiracy diagram there. So if you've got your favorite conspiracy, no matter what that is, and I would list out a couple, just for examples, but then that would take away from the show. Next week, all of us will come back with our favorite conspiracy theory, and we will maybe even talk about some other ones to see what all's out there. But we are going to dive right in to the conspiracies of wrestling, the unsolved conspiracies of wrestling.
Those of you guys watching on Facebook and YouTube, apparently the favorite wrestling conspiracy theory of all time is Steve New. That was a little mishap on my behalf. I apologize. I got it fixed, though. But, yeah, next week's going to be interesting. Hopefully Derek can get his little happy hind in here in the studio. I ain't going to mess with you. It's safe over here, I promise.
We'll see.
This is not the most or the greatest unsolved conspiracy theory of all time. If he took you out, Derek, I certainly have no knowledge, no involvement, and I'm certainly not helping him cover it up.
I love you, but I have to go pee. So can we wrap this up? Actually,
Rich Quick.
All right, guys. There you have it. Rich Quick has to pee. That's it. We'll see you guys next week. Steve New, Brian Resner, Derek Jones, Rich, I gotta pee quick, guys. I'm John Covey Cole. Ramble on.
Pee fast.
Ramble on.
all right. Bye-bye.